Welcome to MalcolmPresents.com with my show. Actually, it's welcome to Phil Margo, The Lion Roars, on MalcolmPresents.com. Anyway, good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Malcolm, and I'm happy to be here with you. My voice is hoarse because I'm taking this Symbicort, which for asthma, and it infects my vocal cords. So there's nothing wrong with me. As I keep telling everybody, I'm healthy except for my brain.
Well, you're gonna have to. Well, does that mean you can delay the shows?
No.
Come back for.
No.
I'm going come away. Back for the tokens, not this show.
I'm going away on Monday. I'm taking this wonderful trip with my son and my grandson to take Solomon, my grandson, back to school at Fordham in New York, and we're going by train.
I didn't know you were Catholic.
I am.
Fordham isn't Fordham a Catholic school?
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, everything was Catholic back then. I mean, all those schools. But thank God, in a way, they started these great schools, and then they allowed Jews to go to them eventually.
Right, good. Thank God.
Right. I mean, really, they didn't. All these schools were started by the church. Which is an interesting point, because you would think that the church wanted people to be ignorant so that they would follow the church, but they started colleges.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they also needed doctors and lawyers too.
Or they hired Jews for that.
Right. Oh yeah. Anyway, Jewish folk. Anyway,
you have to take a certain amount. You have to take. I remember years ago when I know people that were going to Catholic schools, they had to take like certain parochial classes, certain religious classes as part of the curriculum.
I would think. I mean, if you go to yeshiva, if you go to a Jewish school, you have to take. You have to take religion. I mean, that's the age-old combat of religions and which one is great and where does God sit and all of that. Nobody knows. All I know is if you look at the heavens as they are, they're a miracle enough. If you look at your hand in front of you, how you could bend it and use it and write poetry and music and figure out how the atoms work and how atomic energy works and how all of those things are amazing. And you just look at the stars on a starry night and it's a miracle. So is it any more of a miracle than the Bible saying God created? No. The single event that exploded and made the universe, the theory of, is no different than God. I mean, that initial nothing into something, that's what God did, according to the Bible. So, I just condemn people for listening to it like it's 100% right. You see, things have to be questioned. When a religion says that these people are no good because of their color or their race, that has to be questioned. Anyway, so speaking of questions.
Wait. That leads me into a new show that I'm going to be doing in another few weeks. It's called Green Faith with the Reverend Spencer Harper. And basically what we're going to talk about, how religion can be a unifying thing. Because basically, if you listen to what God says, God wants to help man. Or actually, it was Jesus who was helping man. So this way, if we could use religion as a unifying source versus a separating source.
You know what? If you buy the whole theory of God and he made the 10 commandments and all of that, that's okay. But I think mankind, probably men back in that time, created the 10 commandments as a way to keep people from going nuts. Thou shalt not kill. I mean, what's wrong with that commandment? Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not lie. The beginning of part of it, I am God and all of that stuff, and you listen and all of that, but I'm God with a capital G, and thou shalt have no other gods before me. Just say my name and adore me. I'm God with a capital G. Don't take my name in vain, and whatever. I wrote a song about the Ten Commandments, and it carries all of them. Honor thy father and mother. To hate them is a sin. Not to forgive. Anyway, so the Ten Commandments were really created. If they were created by God, okay. But if they were created by smart men who said, look, these people are nuts, which you could say today. Don't you think the right wing and the white supremacists are out of control?
Yeah, but before we get into I know you wanted to talk about
No, go ahead.
the right. I want to talk about your trip to New York. When are you leaving?
I'm leaving on Monday, this coming Monday, the 16th.
And who are you going with?
At 6 o'clock in the evening on downtown. We pick up the train. The train goes overnight and arrives in Chicago Tuesday afternoon at about 3 o'clock. We have 7 hours, and then we can take another train that goes to Pittsburgh and continues on. So I arrive in New York on Thursday.
There's no train that goes straight through?
No, you wonder why,
Yeah.
I've proposed things that, in my many questions of society, I've proposed, and I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago, maybe longer, a train that can go 300-400 miles an hour. And then as we started understanding what the maglev trains are, I figured that if we build tunnels and take the air out of them, so that there's no air resistance in the tunnel, a maglev can go at 2,500 miles an hour. It can get across the country in less than an hour. And while you're building that, you build new water pipelines so you can transfer water. I mean, we have the largest supply of fresh water in the world, the Great Lakes. We can dip a straw into that and supply every state in the country. We're not a United Nations. We're not. This is not the United States of America. This is the unfortunate state of America. The USA, and there are so many things that could have been done. I proposed in 1976 a water line. They have gas pipelines, they have oil pipelines. None of that is as important as water. We see California burning up because of the lack of water. Well, if we had water pipelines, we wouldn't have a problem.
Well, actually, that started Los Angeles with the water line. I forget what came down from the north.
Desert. Right, it was a desert.
Which it was William Mulholland at the turn of the 20th century.
Right.
Because otherwise, Los Angeles is a desert, and it's turning into a desert again.
And you know what? We're going to pay for that.
Anyway,
I've done nothing to change seawater into fresh water.
I know, that's what I feel.
They've done relatively nothing to take bath water and now they could even use toilet water to purify it and recycle.
I know the concept is still
look it, use it to, how much water we use to landscape for watering. 60% of the water we use is done for landscaping.
Well,
is that amazing? So what if you recycled all of that water that goes in the dishwasher, that goes in the sink, that goes in the washing machine?
In the shower.
It goes in the shower. My wife showers with 2 big pails and takes the water out after she's done and pours it on the ground for the grass. These are doable things. These are things that are they're no-brainers. There is a way to purify water, to have that water go to a separate tank.
But let's get back to your trip.
Oh,
so you leave at 6 o'clock in the evening.
But my trip, everything that's happening in this country is the last thing. these are last things. If we don't do something about voting and about climate and about all of this stuff and about water and about the insanely rising temperatures and about all of the people who think that that the vaccine is poison when they look around and see everyone's dying, you know, if we don't do something about it, none of that, my trip to New York doesn't matter. I'm going with my son to go on an adventure with my son and my grandson. That's what it is. Um, um, uh, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. I'll get a chance to see my sister, Maxine, the Green Diva, and and my brother-in-law and some friends in New York that are very dear to me. And you know, anyway, I
Are you going to take it? Are you going to take a trip to Coney Island and
I hope
Brighton
so.
Beach?
It depends on my brother-in-law if he feels like driving there. I'd love to go to Nathan's. And I know today that Marky Post passed away.
Yeah.
And my connection to her was, first of all, my friend Jim Drake directed most of that series. You know,
And
so
Night Court.
yeah, so he worked closely with
That was a marvelous series. I love that one.
yeah, well, my friend Jim Drake, who we should have on the show, um, he directed the Police Academy movies. He's been battling illness.
Well,
He's all right. I'm gonna work it out.
let's talk to
I'm
him.
gonna work it out. And I spoke to him about it. And when we were starting to do the new series with Robert after Benson, and the company I was working with at the time was Impossible, and I wanted to do, I wanted to do a different kind. I wanted to do a 1 hour series, not another half hour. You know, nobody believed he could do anything but comedy. Nobody believed he could sing until he finally did, Phantom. Then he did Phantom for I don't know a year, and they could, you know, oh wow, he can sing.
Okay.
I'm talking about Robert Guillaume.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when they landed on a series idea that they liked, and we auditioned people, Marky Post was one of the ones to audition for his love interest, and I wanted her desperately. I thought she was great. She did a great reading. She was wonderful to look at. She was good at comedy. She was just a dear woman too, on top of everything else, you know. And you know, I got outvoted because I had to deal with a company and I had to abide by the deal. But I was furious, and they cast it wrong, and it didn't work. You know,
Who did they cast instead?
I don't even remember. It was somebody new, and and Marky Post had name value, and she was everything that role needed. So when I saw the obituary, I went, oh, you know, it was a sad moment because, I mean, I enjoyed her, and I thought she would have been great, and it would have been wonderful to be involved with a series that she was doing. And I spoke to Jim about her too, who knew her well because he directed her in Night Court. He said, "Oh, she's wonderful. She's a darling."
Well, the funny, and I don't know if you've ever gone to the real Night Court, but in Manhattan when I was in college, and I didn't really have much money to, go out. What I do is I'd have my date, and there was this great place in Chinatown. No, excuse me, not Chinatown, Little Italy,
Oh,
which
little,
I mean was, and I'm forgetting, Puglia, Puglia, where they had uh, community sitting. You had one big table,
oh
and
yeah,
you
yeah,
shared the
yeah.
bread, you shared
Family
everything,
style, yeah, family.
family style,
Yeah,
and it
I
was
know.
fairly inexpensive. And they had like these. They might have been the grandparents or something. A heavy set woman and old guy where he played the mandolin and she sang old Italian songs. But after we went to Night Court, which was free,
Yeah, sure.
and
You know,
so
they're doing another one. I think
yeah, I heard that.
doing another.
But that would be. But anyway, you went to night. I took the date to Night Court, and it was like going to a show because there were so many crazy things that happened. It's everybody that was arrested that had to be booked
Yeah, and you
went to
know,
Night Court.
and shows like that. Well, anyway, it was successful, and it just made me. I felt a little I don't know, homesick. I think, you know, because I remembered casting the show, and I remembered
Mm.
feeling so strongly about it, you know, that, and I couldn't make my
Yeah.
argument, not even to the
Yeah.
neighbor.
There's certain things, that we said, what would happen if?
Well, anyway, so I was thinking about, they passed the infrastructure bill yesterday,
Yeah.
and I think, and he got, and Biden got 19 Republicans, which is amazing because that's almost 40% of the Republicans that voted with the Democrats. Um, so the right actually, and Trump tried to make them not pass it, So I'm glad to see that maybe his power is not as strong as it was, but it made me start thinking of all of the things that the right stood for in my lifetime and even before. Like the right, and it could have been Democrats back then, the right is still the right. I don't care what label you put on them. Right-wing thinking is Nazism. And they did the filibuster rule back in the late 1800s, which was a rule that would make it more difficult to institute voting for black folks. You know, what it did was it destroyed Reconstruction. And Reconstruction after the Civil War, Reconstruction went backwards, and it never got better until the 60s, the 1960s, when President Johnson started passing the bills. So you look at history and you see the things that the right stood for, stood by, talked about, and were wrong. Okay, now I'm just going to name a few. Besides the filibuster,
Which is still standing by now.
right? The right wing of the United States of America were the ones who supported Hitler. Charles Lindbergh was a Hitler fan, and he was one of the right wingers who supported Hitler and didn't want to go to war against Hitler and all of that. Could you imagine if we stayed out of the war, what would have happened? They would have taken England, and they would have had missiles. They could have taken out the United States. If Hitler would have succeeded, we would all be, you and I would be dead. And the rest of the world would be still living under a swastika.
Yeah. Well, the big thing is, well, I don't remember, but the thing I read from history, and you see it, a lot of the politicians were saying, why are we getting involved in a war
Right.
overseas where we're protected by, the Atlantic Ocean?
Because that's the people who have no brains, They have no brains. They really don't. They don't. The politicians, the one thing that politicians do, many of them, especially now the Republicans, is they only see the moment. They want power and they want to stay in office, and they don't care what they do to do it. They don't care. They'll get rid of voting. They'll say things like these insane things like Lindsey, like what the other idiot, um,
Lindsey Graham?
no, not Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul.
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul says people shouldn't have to get vaccinated, and if the government does something about it, we can fight them. There are more of us than them. He said that he's a senator charged with the protection of the United States of America and its citizens, and he says, "Screw you! We're going to take your vote away, and don't get the vaccine." And he sees all these states and they're not getting the vaccine. People are dying left and right. How does he not see that? Okay, so these are the things they didn't see. Senator Joseph McCarthy, he saw a way to power. Communists, socialists who believed that the government should not rule supreme, which is basically what this country was started about. I mean, the government, it's called the people's house. It's not called the politician's house. Everyone in the government represents the people, right? That's how our government started. And you have senators representing themselves. They only care about themselves. So McCarthy saw this communism thing as a linchpin to power. And he started, I have a list of 36 communists. And then the next week, I have 212 communists. He would hold up this note that probably was part of yesterday's newspaper, And it turned out to, and it hit me directly because my teacher, my sixth grade teacher, was fired because he was supposedly a communist, and because the FBI said so. And J. Edgar Hoover, who was also a lowlife, had such power that he was able to do that. So that's another one of the right wing things.
Well, J. Edgar Hoover had all this blackmail on people.
Oh, please, he was a, I mean, our country, it's only because the people believe, or a majority of people, like 83 million or 82 million Democrats and independents, and even some Republicans voted for Biden because they believe that this country should be a free country and that vote should count. So McCarthy, finally, Edward R. Murrow put him in his place, and then the congressman said, have you, what did he say? I forgot what he said now. But basically he said, it's enough, No one said that to Rand Paul. No one said that, at least Mitch McConnell voted for this infrastructure bill too. Anyway, and then you have the Iraq war, not the first one, not the one where we chased them out of, back to Iraq.
Out of Iraq, yeah.
Where they attacked, I forget the name of those countries. Anyway, but anyway, we chased them out, and I spoke to that General Norman Schwarzkopf, okay?
Stormy Norman.
Way before Bush faked the attack to Iraq, made up the evidence that wasn't true to attack Iraq, which we're still fighting that mess.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so right, and all of that. I mean, everything. These and yes, General Schwarzkopf, because we entertained at a function in Florida that he was a speaker on, and we were sitting in the green room together. I have a picture. I wish I'll show it next time.
Yeah, take it.
But the picture of us and Norman Schwarzkopf. I mean, I really met him, and I said to him, I said, between you and me, the $1 million question: why didn't we go into Baghdad? I want to get it from the source. This was in the late 90s, right? Or middle 90s. He said, first of all, the UN mandate was to get them out of Kuwait.
That's a country you were looking for, Kuwait.
Chase them out of Kuwait. So we chased them. If we chased them back to Baghdad, we'd still be there. And this was like 5 or 6 or 7 years after we chased them out of Kuwait. So the general himself said he knew, and Bush knew. President George, not George W, H.W. Papa Bush. I have a picture with him. I was in his office when he was vice president. I should get it now, but
yeah, you should do a room with all your pictures and politicians.
Anyway, so I don't have to tell you how wrong they were about Iraq. We were there for 20 years. It's still a mess. It upset the whole Middle East. It turned it into a mess, and it's still a mess. So we had to deal with it. Whereas when Saddam Hussein, scumbag that he was, at least he kept the Middle East even. And sometimes there's a time where you have to say, no, I'm not going to talk. No, I'm not going to act. I'll see, I'll wait. They should have just waited. But George W. Bush had this thing about he tried to get his father or whatever. It was stupid. And he convinced everybody by lying, because all of that stuff were lies. Excuse me. Another great trick of the right wing, lies. Okay, so then we got that. Now, gays in the military, that was going to be a disaster. And you can't have a military with gays in it. You can't do it. And it had no effect at all. Gay men make just as good soldiers as anybody else. Transgender people make just as good as soldiers. You're trained as a soldier, you act like a soldier. There are many soldiers who were male and were miseries, you know, who did awful things. So it that didn't affect gays in the military. Gay marriage, it would ruin marriage in the United States. Remember that? Remember that quote, the right way? It will ruin traditional marriage. Did it? No. Marriage ruins marriage, you know, not gay people. And the amazing thing, the thing that I'm so amazed at is, you know, I'm a big fan of Hallmark movies, right?
Yeah.
And they were their original movies were all about Jesus and crosses and churches and everything. All of a sudden, they started showing Jewish people. They showed Hanukkah. They showed gay people together. They showed lesbian couples. They showed black and white and Asian, and all of the nonsense rules went away. And the Hallmark Channel, which is the bastion of level, right?
Family values.
It's saying it's okay to do that. And these people are portrayed as nice people. They just love each other. And now you have commercials that do that too. And it was going to be a whole, oh, how horrible, how horrible. What? Oh, it wasn't. So the right was wrong again.
Well, I have to admit, you know, being a product of the late 60s, late 50s and 60s, I still get, word is not shocked, but it's still strange to see, you know, whether it's a movie or a commercial, to see two men kissing, to see two women kissing, or even to see a interracial couple. Because when I was growing up, you know, when I was a teenager, I guess in my early 20s, this was so strange.
That's where prejudice begins. It was strange because you were told it was strange. If it were being good, because in Greece and in Rome, it wasn't strange. Gayness was out in the open, you know. I mean, it's what you get used to. It's surprising to me, but it doesn't make me feel weird, you know. I believe everyone has a right to love who they love.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's Greek or Roman, but they always say, but from what I was told, they said women are for production, you know, to have kids.
Well,
Men are for pleasure.
Because they're fine, you know. I don't believe that either. I don't believe that either. I don't really believe that. I believe during the reproduction there is pleasure. You know.
Oh, definitely.
I don't believe, because why would there be so many beautiful goddesses half naked? You know, in Roman and Greek. You know, so you know, what, and you know what? It's your own thing. I was taught growing up, just like you were, that it was wrong to have a mixed couple. It was wrong. Catholics and Jews couldn't get married. The world is going to be brown or black. I mean, black in cinder. Anyway, let me continue.
Okay.
Climate change, the hoax of climate change. They have standing by this for years because the oil companies paid them to. The oil companies didn't want to realize about, you know, recognize climate change because they were busy selling oil. They were selling CO2. They were selling poison, just like the cigarette companies were selling poison and knew it was killing people. And the right said, we have the right to smoke. We have the right to do this. We have the right to, you know, you can't tell us what kind of car to buy. We could buy a car with 7 miles a gallon. And you know, and it's insane. And the planet is getting warmer. And they still deny it. That's what's, I mean, what do you need to see? California's burning. They had 120-degree temperature in Canada. That didn't happen since the earth was formed, you know. So,
well, I think they said this is the hottest that the earth has been in 125,000 years.
yeah, right. And that was, and that was while it was still growing, you know? Maybe at that time there were a lot of volcanoes kicking around.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's frightening with what's
But
happening
we did it.
with
The
the
human beings did it. It's tied directly to human beings. And you see how effing stupid they are because of what happened with COVID. The president of the United States says it's no problem when he knew it was a problem. More right-wing lies. It's no problem. It'll be the 2-3 cases, it'll go away. Why do they let him walk around free for saying that, for leading this country into over 600,000 deaths? He should be arrested and tried for mass murder.
Well, I'll tell you, when he
In
first
Nuremberg.
when he first ran for the presidency, I thought it was a joke. I
He was
mean,
more than
literally.
a joke. He was a Hitler. He's Hitler.
Yeah, but literally, I
Wanna go-
thought it was a joke, and he'd never win the nomination. Then when he won the nomination, I said, okay, you know, that's aberration. He'd never win the presidency.
I was scared crapless that he would. I saw people like that get into office and destroy nations.
Yeah.
Just look at history. And he was a crook going in. He was a crook all along. He never was honest. He was a liar and a crook, and he still is. And if he doesn't get his due, that is the greatest miscarriage of justice in the history of this nation.
Well, I hope they get to convict him of something within the next 2.5 years, because I hate to see him running again for president for the simple reason he might win.
If he will win, he will win. He'll win because they will have gotten rid of most of the Democrats. You know, if Black people can't vote, the Democrats can't win. The reason why Biden won was because of the Black folks in the cities, in those states. And if they're stopped from voting, then the president will win all those swing states.
And anyway, Phil, our time is up.
Well, I covered what I wanted to, and I thank you for allowing me to do that.
Okay, but the thing is,
just remember, everybody, the right historically was wrong and lied. And you think about that, because some of your friends are dying because they believe that crap.
We'll see if we could find, maybe next week you can do a show from Maxine's house.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah, I won't be there. I won't be there. It won't be Wednesday.
Well, we could do it another day at another time and then play it Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Because remember, we're not. I hate to tell everybody, we're not live.
I could do it from the train. I can do it.
You can do it. You have to.
I'll call you up from the train and see how it's going.
That might be interesting. Anyway,
because I will be on the train on next Wednesday.
Yeah, I wonder how that would. Well, let's try it.
I will call you.
Okay. Have a great trip.
Right. Thank you for.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to me. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Remember, you're listening to MalcolmPresents.com. Phil, Margo, the Lion Roars. Tell your friends about it, and Phil, tell your friends about it.
I'm doing it.
Okay. Bye.